Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Adult Table, a SACE podcast. SACE is the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers and is a nonprofit organization that focuses on helping Asian heritage scientists and engineers achieve their full potential. I'm one of your hosts, Jenny Chung, a technical product owner working at an aerospace and defense company based in El Segundo, California.
And I'm Jason Chin, a recent grad working as a traffic engineer based in Boston, Massachusetts. What is the adult table? Growing up, we get automatically assigned to sit at the kids' table at any family, friend gathering, never being able to get a peek of the adult table where the serious conversations seem to be.
Now, as a recent graduate myself, I still feel like I get placed at the hypothetical kids' table in certain situations professionally and in life. It seems like there are different levels of the adult table. Even after graduating and working full-time, I feel that we are still below other adults that we interact with.
The adult table has always been a coveted place to be for me. The adult table always had those life and career-oriented discussions, and I hope through this podcast we could bring these conversations to our community as we discuss differing professional journeys while also giving space for those life questions that come with those adult responsibilities.
We wanted to create this podcast in hopes that we can bridge the gap between that hierarchy and come together to have a figurative meal and good conversation. Now that we are technically considered adults, let's sit together and just have a casual conversation. We can redefine what it means to be able to figuratively sit at the adult table.
Throughout this podcast, we will be bringing in a diverse set of guests to discuss their professional journeys, success stories, some unheard stories, and get to know our guests as people. Before we get into that, let's take a little time to introduce ourselves, the co-hosts of this podcast. So, Jenny, can you just tell us a little about your SACE journey and why you were interested in being involved in this podcast?
Sure. So I've been involved in SACE since 2015, my freshman year of college. And then through my college career, got really involved and actually became the president of Northeastern SACE, the SACE chapter. Yeah. And then got involved nationally with the SACE Tank Initiative, which is this entrepreneurship initiative that SACE has. So I've been pretty involved in that. And then now also just being involved in the professional LA chapter that exists here, which is pretty nice to get those connections as a working person. So that's kind of like a really brief SACE journey timeline for me. But then the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, and I'm really glad that you, Jason, reached out to me with this opportunity, is basically just wanted to have some sort of platform where, we can get to know people and just have these candid discussions or get to know them a little bit better, maybe professionally, personally, that I've never really had a conversation with, right? Because it's when I first joined SACE, it was wow, they're these great people that have been involved for a really long time. They're on the SACE magazine, there's articles published on them. And I've never had the opportunity to even have a conversation or know what to talk to them about, right? So I feel like this podcast would be just a really good way to be hey, even for listeners, right, to talk, to kind of hear a casual conversation, be oh yeah, these people are really approachable. If you see them at conference, social settings, yeah, go up to talk to them. They're just people too. And so it's just a by SACE, for SACE type of thing. Yeah, just bringing people together through these connections. And I'll reverse that question back to you, Jason. Tell us about your SACE journey and why you wanted to start this podcast.
Yeah, so similarly to Jenny, I was really involved in my collegiate chapter at Northeastern. Jenny was my president at one point, and even when I first joined eBoard, Jenny was there. So yeah, I've been involved, ending up being co-vice president in my fourth year. And after leaving college, I really wanted to stay involved, similarly to Jenny as well. I stayed involved nationally. So currently I am one of the Northeast regional coordinators. So I'm kind of covering over the Philadelphia chapters. But yeah, I just really wanted to stay involved. I really grew to love this community through college and just continuing my involvement, hoping to use my experience, my knowledge to help other chapters, whether they're thriving or, trying to rebuild, just trying to be a resource for them. And yeah, this podcast, I thought it was a great opportunity. As a regional coordinator, you're supposed to be involved in an initiative in SACE. So you could be involved in the Sister Chapter Challenge, or you could be involved in the mental health initiative. But yeah, there's a list of just some of the initiatives that were kind of on the shelf, didn't really have any leads yet. And I kind of just jumped at it. I feel like I like kind of lit up when when I saw that on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah,
Really resonated with it. Always listen to podcasts and stuff. So I thought it'd be a cool thing to bring to the SACE community, bring everyone together, hear different stories, because yeah, you only get to have some of those conversations at conference. So hoping to
for sure.
keep that on throughout the year and just learn a little bit more about people who, like you're saying, are super involved. And you're talking about this like kind of on the third person perspective, but you're going to be one of the people on the magazine. So
That is
hopefully,
true. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe, I don't even know. I don't want to talk that big about myself, but maybe I am that person to some people. But actually, I'm like very, like, you can approach me at any time. You as well, too. You're one of those higher people now, too. So it's like, I think we're pretty approachable people. And, I've met a lot of people at conferences where it's like we've had like 1 or 2 minute conversations, and then they'll remember like, oh, like I talked to you about like this one specific thing, and I'll be like, yeah, like you remember me, that's cool. But like I want to have like more of those conversations besides that like one day of the year at a conference, right? It'll just be like, like a nice sit down. Yeah. So you're also a role model too to people, Jason. Remember that.
damn, that's weird to think. I'm making my way there.
Yeah, for sure.
got a few years to go, but hopefully looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Um,
so now that you know a little bit about us and our SACE journey, we hope that you follow along. And we want to use this podcast in order to build a bridge, as I mentioned, between, professionals, volunteers, and members within the SACE community. Like, as I mentioned, this is a podcast for SACE by SACE, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Adult Table Podcast for updates, and subscribe to us on any platforms that you listen to podcasts. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone.